At the start of the season, over 40 drivers met at Daytona for the first race with a brand new group of drivers. The inaugural Fuel Rigshare Cup Series took us to super speedways, short tracks, road courses, and speedways. Greg Evans dominated the season, winning 8 of 16 races. But Rhett McBride and Nick Cohan were close behind, and with one race remaining, it's winner take all. We head to the Nevada desert and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway to finally conclude the season with a spectacular 3-way shootout. Place your bets and go all in. There's no rewards for second place here. If there's one place to settle scores, put everything you have on the line and take a couple chances, it's right here in the championship race and in Las Vegas. Finian, final round of the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series for 2018. It's been a great season with these guys so far.
Yeah, it has been from the start of the season at Daytona all the way to here. It's been a long ride with these guys and a fantastic one at that. But we got almost 30 cars here tonight, but really only 3 are going to matter, and that's going to be Greg Evans, Nick Cohan, and Rick McBride, as they're the only ones eligible and the only ones going for the championship.
You see the practice speeds on the left-hand side of the screen here, Finian. Looked like Scott Eckrich and Dean Doucette have something for Cohan and Evans, but McBride looks a little bit off the pace here early tonight.
Yeah, judging off of practice times, yeah, he seems to be kind of the underdog here between Evans and, where is Nick Cohan? Trying to find his name here, where he ran.
Cohan is third, Evans fourth, so they're quite fast among those guys. So, practice.
At the bottom of the list.
Oh, yeah, well, no, don't be looking there for Cohan, I'll tell you that. His winless this year so far in the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series, but he's been so close so many times. Guarantee you he'll be a threat tonight. Maybe, I mean, the only race you really have to win is the last one here, Finian. You actually don't even really need to win this last race. It's just whoever finishes higher than the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there is a decent chance that they might not win, as we have Scott Eckrich here again this weekend. We've seen some phenomenal pace out of that car. He hasn't been here all season. He's done a part-time season here in the Fuel Cup Series. When he's here, he is stupidly fast.
Yeah, he's been fast, and we thought it was just on the road courses, but then he goes out to Gateway and runs very, very well there, albeit a little bit aggressively. But that 70 car and the driver that's in it, man, he is so talented, and I don't think we're going to see anything less than that tonight at Vegas. But let's talk about Las Vegas here a little bit, Finian. Tonight, we're going to be dealing with temperatures that are a little bit warm, 90 degrees on the racetrack, 78 degrees in the air, but this 1.5-mile racetrack, one of the fastest speedways in NASCAR.
Yeah, one of the fastest indeed, just due to the banking and the speed you carry through these corners. It is insane how much speed they carry, going 200 miles an hour into both turns.
Watching Thomas George right now on his qualifying lap. So we are qualifying right now. We got about 8.5 minutes left to go in that. We're riding on board now with Thomas George. Well over 190 on the backstretch and over 200 on the front straightaway. So got to keep an eye out for the high speeds here tonight. We were just here a couple weeks ago for the Virtual Racing League, and they put on a fantastic race. Only had one caution. So I'm expecting something similar here tonight, Finian. I think we're going to get a little bit of spread out action, even though we have about 30 cars entering this race. All right, so the first couple of drivers have come through. Dean Doucette again showing his pace here this week to the top of the board for now. 33 thousandths over the 9 of Thomas George.
Yeah, and imagine most of these guys are going to set their fastest lap on lap 1, so we shouldn't see too much change in those times.
But I think we will, as and we'll see the 70 is certainly going to come through at a high speed, as will the 21 of Cohan and the 2 of Greg Evans. He's going to be one to beat, and they might wait a little bit later into this practice session to see if the track might cool off a little bit with the clouds rolling over. Dean Doucette is off track, is going to conclude his session there. Calvin Filarski jumps up to 4th in the number 39 car. Good effort for him so far in that Sealmaster Toyota.
Yeah, so far relatively cool here. It's 90 degrees on the track. So relatively cool, could be a lot slicker for these guys out here, so it should have a lot of grip to work with.
And we'll keep an eye on that temperature throughout the race, Finney, and it probably will see a temperature increase, especially depending on the cloud cover that we're going to get. I can see that fluctuating quite a bit. We've seen temperatures already. Watkins going on Friday with the Hardline Racing League. We saw temperatures fluctuate about 20 degrees, so always a possibility for the track to get a lot slicker than it currently is. Will Roberts out on track in the number 96 car. Bass Pro Shops on board that Chevrolet Camaro tonight. Norman Pelletier also out on track, leaving the pits right now.
And notably, none of our championship competitors have put a lap time down yet. And actually, a lot of notables are waiting to still put a time down. Gabriel Perry, Cohen, McBride, Evans, guys like that, they're still waiting to put a time down.
And I think there's a reason for that, Finney, and I think they could be looking up at the clouds, waiting for some cloud cover. They could be waiting just to see what they need to beat. That's a possibility. But right now, you mentioned all 3 of those finals drivers have not taken to the racetrack just yet. Andrew Cardinale in the number 22 car. Mike's Hard Lemonade on that vehicle, and he is up to P6. That looks like he'll call it there. David Leclerc also on track in the number 50 car. 9th qualifying effort for him so far. Does he improve this time by? Nope, he actually drops a spot to Norman Pelletier in the 56.
How about Brad Collins in the 67, currently sitting in 3rd position, so a solid qualifying effort from that 67 car.
How about Don Runkle Jr. out on the racetrack right now? Didn't put a great lap in the first lap at all. We'll see if he can improve on lap number 2 as he comes out of turn 4. And no improvement that time through. Was a slightly better lap, but didn't jump any positions. So Runkle's going to be starting towards the rear. Not what he wanted for a qualifying effort. Rhett McBride is on track, fitting on the back straightaway. He's coming up to speed right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So we'll see now, watching where one of our championship competitors, where he's going to end up on the grid.
McBride carrying our gyro onboard cam this week. You can see him working the wheel hard out of turn number 4. A little bit loose inside that number 5 car. Kind of running a little bit, kind of more of a middle groove there through 1 and 2, Finian. But Las Vegas is a place where you can make some other grooves work once the lines are worn in, right?
Yeah, definitely. So especially like you're saying, once you get worn in, once some rubber gets put down on the track, you can really start using the outside line to make some passes and also defend. So here we see McBride coming out of turn 4 and through the tri-oval he will go. Does he get a good time in? Only 8th.
Ooh, not a great effort. Lap number 1. Looks like he's going to bail out there, so he's going to have a little work to do tonight. Travis McQuistion getting up to speed here on that 93. Just missed the Fuel Finals here in Las Vegas. Was eliminated at Gateway last week, 1 week ago, in that number 93 car. Gateway did not go like he would have wanted, Finney. He needed to go out there and win that race, and he was involved in a couple incidents and did not finish as well as he needed to.
No, but he gave it his all when he was before the incident, and that didn't start with him. He was kind of a victim, but he was hauling and doing the best he could, knowing that it was his last ditch effort to get into the playoffs, and unfortunately got taken on a wreck.
So only 13th for his first lap here. 13 of 18 cars that have taken time. He's working his way through 3 and 4 now, and we'll see if he'll improve. We haven't seen a lot of drivers improve on that second lap, so curious to see if he'll bump up. And 2/10 off, so he'll remain 13th. So McQuistion struggling as well. Greg Evans has just pulled out onto the racetrack in that number 2 car. Again, this guy, Finian, calling it anything short of domination. It looks like he was driving, a cup driver driving an Xfinity this year. 8 wins in 16 races, including last week's race at Gateway, which he was not the fastest at the beginning of the night, but worked on that race car, got himself up to the lead, not through passing Cohen. Actually, Nick Cohen actually made a mistake last week getting a pit penalty, and that's what put the 2-car in the lead. And then he just never looked back and drove off into the sunset and took his 8th win of the year.
I would say the man has a 50% win percentage, which is something almost unheard in NASCAR's modern age. It's typically a number you would associate more with Formula One, just from the sheer dominance that you get on that side of racing. But he has done some absolutely fantastic things behind the wheel of this number 2 car this season. Again, 50% wins, and even the amount of laps led, I forgot the percentage, but it's something absurd. I think he's led 1 out of every 3 laps that have been put down this season.
And that's not, I mean, he's not coming up through the field and winning these races. He's starting up front, and he's staying up front. There's no mistakes out of Greg Evans in that 2 car. We'll see him come across the line. I'll bet you it's a good position. He'll jump up to pole position. And just like that, by 0.03 of a second over Dean Doucette. Yeah, I mean, we've come to expect that at this point.
Yeah, we are still waiting. I would say there's one notable driver left out of the remaining, actually two drivers that have not notably put down a time yet. That's a 20-1 Nick Cohen, who's actually just rolling out onto the track and still waiting on the 70 Scott Eckrich to put down a time.
Yeah, so Cohen rolling out of turn 1 and 2. Nick Cohen from Pennsylvania. And this was a good season for him. It wasn't bad at all, Finian, but just missing out on victories left and right. I mean, this guy, he might finish second every week, but the wins are what he's missing, Finian. He was successful in the Fuel IndyCar Series, won a couple races over there, but has not managed to put the package together. And I worry about this tonight because you gotta put it together to know how to put it together. And Greg Evans is that guy, and Cohen's been struggling so much that I just don't see him being able to eke one out in the final race here. But I'm certainly gonna be rooting for him. He's had some tough luck this year.
He's had some tough luck this year. Again, out of the final 3, the only one to not get a win. Has been extremely close several times on several different occasions this season to getting that win. Hasn't been able to do it, but I mean, he might be able to get a win here, and it'll be probably the best one of the season for him, or one of the best wins of his career, I should say.
I would definitely say that. Jumps up to only 7th on lap number 1. I'm just curious to see if he can improve, but right now Greg Evans has everybody covered. Evans has taken the pole by 0.03 of a second, so Cohen works his way down the back straightaway, over 195 miles an hour off into turn number 3. Only 45 seconds left here, Finian, and looks like that 70 of Scott Eckrich is not going to qualify. So that's an interesting move there for the 70 car. Maybe he just wants to stay out of the championship battle?
Potentially so. We saw him pull something similar to Gateway. I believe he started out the back and then worked his way to the front, so I think he's going to do something similar here.
Well, Cohen comes across the line, does improve, actually. Brings it up to 4th, and he's only about a 10th off of Greg Evans, so he's close, but no cigar for the 21 car. Qualifying complete. Greg Evans on the pole, Dean Doucette in 2nd, Thomas George 3rd, and Nick Cohen 4th, and Rhett McBride in that number 5 car will be starting in the 12th position. So that is the end of the qualifying session here tonight, and we'll get ready to go racing here at Las Vegas. All right, Finian, get ready to get going here. 150 laps at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and it's going to be a good one for sure. Do you remember how long was our race set for the virtual racing league race that was here a couple weeks ago?
I can quickly.
So it was 140 something, I believe.
Something in that ballpark. I remember it being relatively close to what we have tonight.
I'm going to give the booth a little test. So one thing that we've been working on here the last couple weeks is getting a 3-dimensional booth in our sim broadcasting environment here. So now you get to finally see me. I just pulled my headphone cord out, so we're doing real good so far. But this is something we knew we were going to try. But as we get ready to go racing here, Finian, as I get my headphone cord back in, I'm curious to see what your predictions are for this event, because the obvious choice is Greg Evans. But if you can't choose him, I'm curious to see what you would think.
I would say probably Rhett McBride, and man has had really solid consistency throughout the season. 11 top 5s and 11 top 10s. That's only really second to Greg Evans, who has 12 top 5s and 12 top 10s. So Rhett McBride's been right there, has 1 win to his name. Would probably have more if Greg Evans wasn't racing in this series. So I would say Rhett McBride's got a good chance of doing it. He's been getting it done all season long.
So my question to you, though, Finian, is Rhett McBride has been getting done, and he has won a race, but hasn't Cohen been more of a threat to Greg Evans the past couple weeks? At least it seems like it. McBride was good last week at Gateway, but Cohen was really the one that showed us the outright speed.
Yeah, I would say Cohen's kind of an oddball. He's good. He's definitely really good at some tracks, but not so much at others. McBride's probably the most consistent between both of them, just being pretty good at most places that these guys go to. So I would say, really also looking just on paper, I would say probably McBride's got the best. I definitely Cohen's got a decent shot.
Yeah, I do think that you're probably right about that, McBride being a threat, but it's going to have to start from 12th position here tonight, pretty far down the order for that number 5 car, and curious to see if he can overcome that as the field begins to roll off. You'll see them pass by the background here. Excited to finally get this to work here. Was actually out getting fabric for the green screen a couple hours ago, so it's cool to see it in effect and working here tonight. But this will be expanded in function as we move on here, so we'll work out the quirks and get some better lighting.
Join you at some point.
Oh yeah, Finian's not here because he's not in the physical present location like he usually are. Yes, and I can tell that because you just went robot voice on me. So, all right, so the field rolls on by, and we'll head back live to the racetrack and catch back up with your leaders. But we'll head down the back straightaway here, Finian. Greg Evans in that 2 car starting on pole. Not a surprise here. And what time is it on the clock there, Finian? Because it's looking like it's pretty late afternoon, and we might see the sun start to come down here shortly.
And here they come through the middle of 3 and 4. Got everyone lined up and ready to go. Final race of the season here.
All right. As we roll out of turn number 4, Greg Evans on pole. Green flag flies here. 150 laps to determine the winner of the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. We're green. Off into turn number 1, Dean Doucette in that number 29, slotting in behind that number 9 at Thomas George. So Thomas George already on the move as he comes out.
Caution.
A caution flies already.
Oh, and a
big crash down
midfield.
in. Oh, is the 70 of Eckridge caught up in it? Looks like he does have some damage in that there, Finian. So already caution out. Not a great start for these guys. Fred Thompson involved. Saw the 12 of Johnny Martin spinning around, as well as Tyler Dolger in the 88. So already carnage on the racetrack. Not very long into this one here, Finian.
Yeah, it looks like that started with the 88 of Tyler Dolger and the 01 of Justin Rodden.
Oh, we get down to the corner. The 88 got on the brakes a little bit harder than I would expect. And then the 88 gets hit in the door by Johnny Martin. See, that's where the 70 got his damage. So a 3 or 4 car incident here early. But, yeah, I mean, the 88 did kind of jump off the throttle. But at the same time, you got to be expecting, as Rodden, you got to be kind of expecting that. You can't be, riding up on people so quick, so early. A little bit of patience probably would have helped there. All right, so as the field rolls down the front straightaway here, Finney, and that's going to kind of change out how this works here a little bit. Cohan didn't get any positions in that first couple corners. He remains 4th. Dean Doucette and Thomas George have traded spots, however.
Yeah, Thomas George, another great driver we've seen throughout the season, wasn't able to qualify for the field playoffs as he started a few. So, definitely would have been in here, and I would have loved to see him been in the fight because he's had a really fast car and expect a lot out of him next season.
Yeah, that number 9 car has been quite fast. Actually, Thomas George and Nick Cohan had a run, and if you think back all the way back to Charlotte, round number 6, I believe it was, they were side by side. They've been racing side by side for probably 5 or 10 laps. They get down into turn number 1, and bam, they get together, and they both crash in turn 1 and take each other out, Finney, and that was probably one of Cohan's opportunities to win a race. Do you think that this late in the season that they have any, is that on the minds of anybody? I mean, a wreck like that, it's got to get in your head a little bit, no?
Yeah, definitely in all season, the ones that have gotten away. He's been so close to getting the victory this season, but just has come up short every. Honestly, too many times, I would think. He's really deserved a win this season so far. Can't stress it enough that 21's really deserved a win, but hasn't gotten it.
So looking down at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, you see the crowd here. And let's take a look at our temperature, Finian. 86 degrees, dropped a couple since the beginning of the race, and as that temperature drops, the grip levels are going to go up. So, you know, how do the lines change around here, Finney? And if you think about the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, it's not generally a super multi-groove racetrack like you'd think of Auto Club, but obviously the lines might form better when the temperature's hotter. So how's that, the coolingness going to, I don't know what I'm saying here. Coolingness?
Cooler track.
Yeah, how does the cooler track going to affect? Because I feel like we're going to go more single line than multi-groove later in this one.
Yeah, I definitely think as the track cools off, we're definitely, like you said, we're going to see more single file. Guys are going to probably stick more to the bottom with the extra grip. They're going to be able to rotate the car better, and then obviously the bottom line is the quickest way around the track. So we're going to see guys potentially migrate down lower if it gets hot, if it gets cool.
All right, so Greg Evans maintains the lead here on lap number 4. We'll be coming to the restart 5 laps in. Obviously, the crash on lap number 1 taking out the 88 of Tyler Dulger, who has, looks like he's retired for the night. Johnny Martin, the number 12, who was also involved, is going to be still on the lead lap, still in contention for this, but he's still in pit lane right now getting damage fixed, so he might go a lap down here on the restart. Rolling through turns 3 and 4, Greg Evans in the 2. As we mentioned, will be leading this race back, and he's got Cohan to run away from. He's got 145 laps to get away from him. Green flag back in the air. Let's try again. Off into turn 1, a little bit cleaner this time, it looks like. A little bit of 3 wide action back here with the, that's the 93 of McQuistion in the middle of it all. The 50 of David Leclerc and the 23 car of AJ Henderson. Haven't seen AJ in quite some time.
Yeah, we have been missing him for quite a bit. Nice to see him back. We're currently running in 19th.
Battle for third. Nick Cohan to the outside of Dean Doucette. He'll take that spot away. Now he's closing up on the rear of the 9 of Thomas George, so Cohan on a move early here.
Yeah, I would say he's got a bit of a run on Thomas George. Does he make the move going to 1? He's going to back off of it for now. Showing a little bit of patience. See
everyone kind of riding real high up in the corners. That's unexpected, I would say. For the entire field to be up there. You'd think some guys would be trying out low, but everyone's kind of following the leader right now, and the leader is Greg Evans, but George is not giving up. He's right underneath the rear spoiler of that 2 car.
Yeah, 1 and 2 is a really tricky to stick the car to the bottom, just the characteristic of your entry into the corner, so a lot of guys typically run the middle to a high line through there. It's just a lot easier to rotate.
So 1, 2, and 3, Evans, George, Cohan, Doucette behind them. Timothy Johnson in the 28 car. This is another guy at the beginning of the season and towards the end. I would have thought he would have been in competition to be in this final race, but a couple bad races, including one at Pocono, really took him out of the championship battle for good.
Yeah, and let's look at the 5 of Rhett McBride. Started in 12th, already up to 8th, trying to get 7th away from the 67. Brad Collins.
Yeah, he's had to work harder.
Inside of him.
He's had to work harder than Cohan and Evans will have to, but certainly making quick work. He's already up to P6 now, working on 5th. You see just behind them, that's the 22 of Andrew Cardinale dropping to the inside. That's a Ford Fusion there. I think that's Brad Collins in the 67, new paint scheme on board the 67 this week.
Yeah, and McBride's looks like he's gonna get out of Johnson. One of the fastest, that 5 is one of the fastest cars on the track at the moment, as he moves from 8th to 5th in 1 lap.
All right, so we got 1, 3, and 5, your championship 3 as we work out of turn number 2 on lap number 9. Greg Evans, your leader. He's led every lap so far. Behind him, there's Gale Brooks in the number, number 71. It's been so long since Brooks has been in this race that I'm trying to remember what these people are driving. This is the largest field we've seen in probably several weeks to see the 56 of Pelletier bounce off the wall. This is such a big field that I'm not used to having everybody here. McBride up to 4th now. Andrew Cardinale is also coming forward here in that 22 car. Started 10th up to 5th now.
Yeah, here's my worry, though, with the 5 Rhett McBride. He's putting on some fantastic pace right now, but I gotta imagine he's been using up his tires a lot more compared to the rest of his competitors, because he's been riding that low line in 1 and 2, and everyone else has been running to mid to high line. So I can imagine that he's probably using up more of his equipment right now, moving himself up to the front. So he might fall off his tires a little bit sooner than some of the other guys around him.
See now McBride trying to go to the bottom of Nick Cohan. It looks like he's going to get there, but Andrew Cardinale's got a head of steam on the outside. Going to try to push the 21. No, he'll back out for now. A lot of these drivers might be a little bit skittish to insert themselves into the heat of battle between those top 3. But Cardinale is going to go right around the outside of Cohan. No waiting around for the 22 car contact there.
Oh, gets into him.
Yeah, Cohan, a little bit of right front damage possibly on that 21 machine. Well, let's go back and take a quick look at that because I got to figure out if that was an avoidable thing or what. But let's look down and get another view. Yeah, Cardinale kind of forced the issue there on the outside. Gets through, but yeah, Cohan just drifts up on corner exit. Didn't think he knew the 22 was going to make that move. It was an aggressive move for sure this early in the race, but Cardinale is not waiting around. Up to fourth now, looking for third on the outside of McBride.
Yeah, so on his little rocket underneath that 22 car, as he's now just flying through the field. Up
to the way top line of the racetrack here. Maybe he can use that top side to get a run down the back straightaway. Let's take a look. You'll see the momentum he carries on the backstretch right next to the 5 of Rhett McBride. He's going to get that nose in there. Now, can he carry the speed through 3 and 4? He drives it in deep. And he's going to get the spot away here eventually, if he keeps working this outside groove.
Yeah, Cardinale is doing some great stuff up there on that outside line.
And this is something that Cardinale is an extremely talented race car driver, Finney, but this was really not his year. Oh, he gets into the fence in turn 1. Oh, man. That was decent contact there. But as I was saying, Finney, the 22 car has had phenomenal speed, but just has gotten himself into accidents, been run over a bunch of times this season, just has not had the luck. Not the season he was looking for, so hopefully in 2019 Season 1, he can get some of that luck back. You got some right side damage now after pounding the fence in turn 1, but that outside lane isn't really ready yet, Finian. I mean, he's fast up there, but it's dangerous for sure.
Yeah, Cardinale out of 16th start too.
Oh, McQuistion! Hard crash. I believe that's over in turn number 2. And McQuistion, that'll probably be a retirement for that 93 car. Big, big impact. He's going to drive away. But rear end totally smashed in on that ultimate Toyota.
Yeah, and the incident that happened involved McQuistion, the 20 of Ethan Kurtz, and the 56 of Norman Pelletier.
Oh, it was Kurtz that got up into the wall first, and then Pelletier spins the 93. Oh, Calvin Filarski got a piece of that, as did the 99 car. Oh, man, a lot of cars were involved in that. Philip Clark of the 99. There's a guy that, I remember Charlotte back in round number 6. He avoided pretty much every accident that was out there, which was impressive considering there was about 15 that day. But here he goes. Oh, Scott Eckrich also got a piece of that one as well. And this is what hurts Eckrich here. If he had just qualified, he would have been in front of all this mess. But so far, been involved in 2 of the 2 cautions we've seen.
Yeah, he's got a decent amount of damage to that right side of his car, so he's got to work on pit road and got to try to fix that car up. Nothing too terrible, but it's still definitely not going to help his situation.
Well, speaking of pit road, I think everyone's going to come down and get tires here, Finney, and the wear is going to be pretty excessive here tonight, so I think you'll see everyone get them when they can.
Yeah, indeed, and everyone you see there is on pit road.
So looking at Cardinale's damage, it doesn't look like he hit the right front at all, just kind of the door. So he hit it square enough where it shouldn't affect him a lot. Obviously going to want to repair a little bit of that here. We'll see if the leaders swap any positions here, and I think the 2 car, Greg Evans, has that first pit stall, has the biggest advantage over anybody here, and we'll see if he can maintain that as they leave pit road here in a moment.
Ooh, George looks like he got a good jump.
Oh, he did. Thomas George will come out of pit road, your leader. Greg Evans and Nick Cohan will come out 2nd and 3rd. Here's the big change, though. If George takes that inside lane, that'll put Cohan right alongside Evans when they get down to turn number 1, if Evans can't get a phenomenal restart. So that's going to change how things work here a little bit. Field rolls back out. Not a whole lot of other significant changes here. Cardinale dropped a few spots. Timothy Johnson back up inside the top 5. And update on retirements, Johnny Martin Johnny Martin's actually out on track, but 6 laps down. Tyler Dolger is out of the race, the only one officially out of the race. Although, looks like Eckrich, Clark, Leclerc, and McQuistion are spending a long time on pit lane. All right, so 2 cautions have slowed our progress here early in the night. Greg Evans was the dominant car early, but Finney, I really didn't see him driving away from anybody. It looked like that 9 car was keeping right with them, and Cohan and McBride were as well, and obviously the 22 of Cardinale was charging hard. So, do you think the 2 car is the best car out here? My wager is that the 9 is right now.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see again now that they switched around 9 in front of the 2. We'll see if the 9 of George can get away from the 2 of Evans. But yeah, it seems like the top 5 really were all kind of clumped together, and no one was really able to get an upper hand on each other. So we'll see again with the order slightly shuffled up if anyone else is able to take advantage.
Working our way down the back straightaway now. We should be restarting around lap 20, maybe 21, kind of depends on the lap down situation here. Calvin Filarski returning pit road. And Calvin Filarski, here's another guy that's had a lot of pace this year that has had so much bad luck. And it seems like his slow, steady progress is hurting him because he's always kind of around the accidents when they happen. There are some guys that start up front and keep themselves out of trouble, and there's some that start in the rear and miss trouble, and there's some that start in the rear and get into trouble, and Filarski is the last of those categories. New sponsor on board that 39 car this week, and that right front still needs a lot of work if he wants to be fast. Well, Field's working their way down the front straightaway. We'll return to the booth here, Finian. So, all right, we're 18 laps in. We've seen the strength of the 2 car. We've seen the strength of the 4 as well as the 22. We know what your pick is for the championship. I'm curious as really what your pick is for the race, or if maybe it's the same.
Could you repeat that? Because I didn't hear half that out on my end.
Yeah, the Discord is not working so great here tonight. Well, my question was to you, Finian. We've seen your pick for the champion. What about your pick for the race, or is it the same?
For the race, yeah, that is a tough question. At the race, I would say I can pick 3 people because it's kind of hard to tell at this point. I would say it'd probably be between George, Evans, and I would say maybe Cohan as well.
I'm going to put my bet down on Cohan. And we're going to see how it happens here. I like his position for the restart. And for those of you in the chat asking about restarting trading paints, I did that already under the last caution. Obviously, not really the time to be updating paint schemes at the moment. So, usually if you change it at least a couple hours before we go live, generally it works. But if you're changing it last minute, it won't show up. So, I know Will Roberts did change his, and he has his showing up. So, apologize to those whose weren't updated. Anyway, green flag back in the air. The 9 and Thomas George takes off. Greg Evans did not get a very good restart. Pulls down in front of Cohan, trying to block that advance, and he does. But can Cohan get down to the inside before they get to turn 1?
Oh, Cohan's going to be there. It's just, does he have enough pace to try to get around on this restart? It's going to be hard to do. I think Evans is going to have the run.
Out of turn number 2, not only will Evans have the run, but McBride is coming on the outside as well. Cohan doesn't go up there, and McBride will now drive alongside the... Ooh, I hear contact in the back. I'm not sure if that was just me hearing things or not. It looks like we're okay. But the field kind of fanning out. McBride and Cohan side by side for 3rd behind Greg Evans. Our championship contenders running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. If that tells you how good they are, you can see that purple on the ticker right up near the top. Down the back straightaway now. We got 3 wide towards the rear of the field. There's McQuish in the middle of some more. Calvin Filarski following the 20 of Ethan Kurtz and the 23 of A.J. Henderson. And then just up the road, Brian Bliss. And there's another guy we haven't seen in a very long time, and the Brian Bliss in the 54 car this week.
Yeah, and in the Chevy Camaro also. So he just kind of popped out of nowhere under the radar. Office is seeing him in the 18.
Office Depot on that car here this week. Just up in front of them, Justin Rodden, Kevin Bartelt side by side. Obviously, Rodden involved in that first incident there with Tyler Dulger on lap number 1. But out up front, Finian George is driving away, and Evans is slipping into the hands of Rhett McBride. This is absolutely the opposite of what I thought would be happening. I would have thought McBride would have been slipping backward and Evans moving forward, but so far, vice versa.
Yeah, McBride seems to have a really good short-run pace compared to these guys. Falls up a little bit to their level on the after a few laps in, so we'll see how McBride's able to keep with the leaders, but he's doing a fantastic job so far getting around Cohan. Now trying to work around the 2 of Evans. He goes to the top side in 3 and 4.
Yeah, he made up a ton of ground in the top in 1 and 2, and here he comes out of 3 and 4, side by side for 2nd. Looks like Rhett McBride is going to take that spot away. Power move for that number 5 team. He is coming fast, as is Nick Cohan. He's closing up on Evans as well. Did these guys catch Cohan, or excuse me, did they catch Evans at a place where maybe he's not as good? And as I say that, McBride slips up in turn 1, and looks like Evans will take that spot back.
Yeah, there you see right there is the battle for the championship. These guys don't care at all about the win at the moment, but you can see that they're stacking up a lot of drivers behind them. Johnson and Doucette and all those guys behind, as well as the 99 of
that's Philip Clark. Philip Clark, yep. No, that's not the 99 car that you're looking at. It's the 67 of Collins, I think, the silver car. Yeah.
Yes, that's Collins' new paint scheme is throwing me off.
Yeah. There is the 99 in here, that is Philip Clark, but he's back in 22nd place right now. Well, side by side for position number 6, Brad Collins and Doucette. Then behind them, Gabriel Perry and Rick Thompson. Gabriel Perry, another guy that was very, very consistent, but just not quite good enough to make it to this final round, trying to get himself inside the top 10 and maybe up inside the top 5 later in this run. But this is where the action is. Really, 7th through 13th is all tight together here. There's another big grouping coming out of turn 2 right now. That's the 20 of Kurtz, and that's Calvin Filarski that are side by side. McQuistion is behind. He's making pretty good speed considering that rear bumper is completely missing. Kurtz and Filarski get contact out of turn 4. Filarski in the wall hard, and he's going to spin, and is he going to crash it? I don't know. He's holding on to it pretty well here.
He's, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word, saved it. Although he's had to hit the car into the wall to try to keep himself from spinning out, but that car is definitely done. Yeah. If not so already.
Yeah, that car is pretty much toast here. Let's go back and take a look at that. I think he got kind of bullied up out of the groove by the 20 of Kurtz. Let's take a look. Let's maybe right on board with McQuistion. I think he got a pretty good look at this. Yeah, 20 just washes up the racetrack here, Finian, and just keeps washing, and gets in to the 39 car, and nothing Filarski could have done there. Obviously, a little bit of understeer from that 20, and that's going to end Filarski's competitive night. Thomas George has stretched this out now, over a half a second lead on Greg Evans. Rhett McBride is sticking right with that 2 car. Cohen's not far behind. The rest of the field separated by a couple tenths apiece. We're 30 laps into this one, about a 5th of the way through.
Yeah, McBride is not backed off the back bumper of Greg Evans. He's been sitting behind him, lurking in 3rd. Cohen's kind of fallen back just a little bit from these 2 ahead of him, but is still keeping pace, and actually looks like he's trying to look to the inside of McBride as McBride continues to run on the outside compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I think McBride maybe saw earlier in the race that his inside groove was wearing out his tires too much, so he had to try something else. And he was fast up top, but you see Cohan now saw that as well, and he's moving up the racetrack too to try to find some speed up there. Cohan is all over the back of this 5 car. And last time by was the quickest of anyone on the racetrack, actually, other than Rick Thompson a couple positions behind. Ran a pretty good lap.
Yeah, here comes Cohen trying to make the pass in turn 1. It's going to be the inside of Rhett McBride.
McBride goes way up the racetrack all the way to the wall. We've seen that a couple times tonight. Right on board now the gyro cam with that 5 car.
Looks like he's going to surrender 3rd place to the 21 of Cohen for now. I think he's realized that Cohen is just faster at the moment.
And is there some kind of patience that has to happen here, Finian? I mean, it's a 150-lap race. It's not super long, so you can't wait around all day, but maybe there's something to be said about letting a guy by and trying to get him back later.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to... I think that was kind of just, you know, McBride going... Let go Cohen have a shot at Greg Evans for 2nd place. Maybe see if he can get him out of the line. And then maybe McBride could follow through behind Greg Evans. So we'll see what McBride's up to. But yeah, I think this is more of him, you know, realizing that this is a relatively long race at hand, considering we're only 30 so laps in. So he's just going to play patience for now. And I mean, he's got these 2 guys that he's fighting with right in front of him, and he's going to make sure that they don't get up out of his sight. What
about Scott Eckridge here, Finian? Up to 14th. Obviously, this is something that I attribute to not qualifying. He obviously got into 2 wrecks that were none of his doing. Caught up unavoidable incidents, really. But I mean, I say unavoidable, but if he had just qualified, I'm surprised he didn't. He would have been up there, right up there with the top 5, and I question that decision here a little bit.
Yeah, he really should have qualified. I think that's kind of the story of the day, is that he's shown that he's had a lot of pace in practice. Didn't put in a lap in qualifying, and had some pretty good pace early on in this race, but that damage is definitely not doing him any favors. Although he's done a pretty good job of getting that car back up towards the front half of the field.
And the 21 of Cohen was working over the 2 of Greg Evans the last time through, and it looks like the 93 McQuistion is off the pace, or at least it looked like it on our timing and scoring. Yeah, he's coming down to pit road here, Finian. So McQuistion might call it a night here. Has some more right side damage. I think he might have just gotten into the wall. But side by side again for second. Cohen goes to the outside of Greg Evans. They roll through 3 and 4, and it looks like Cohen's not going to give him a ton of room. And Greg Evans gets that arrow suck around from the inside, and looks like we're going to have to change for position. Cohen up to second and assumes the championship lead here on lap 35.
Seems like Cohen has kicked on the afterburners here these last few laps, trying to get these positions done. So it looks like he's actually going to go all the way for the lead here in a few laps.
He has been running very good lap times, and he's been consistently better than everybody else. So if he can maintain this the whole night, he's going to be the one to beat for sure. But we've seen this before. Even last week at Gateway, the beginning of the race had a pretty extensive lead, and then threw it all away under a pit stop sequence. So we still have a couple pit stops left tonight. So Cohen's got to be careful not to give this up. That's especially the case because Greg Evans almost never makes a mistake. I can't think of one time when Greg Evans made a mistake. The only time that I can even think of him not finishing a race was Talladega a few weeks ago. Obviously, the crash that happened there was not his fault.
Yeah, again, that's just due to the reason why he has 8 wins to his name this season. Just has not made any mistake, or if he has, it's been very minor and almost unnoticeable. But he's gotten the job done more than once this season. But right now, he needs to work back to try to catch up, or at least reel in Cohen a bit, because he's starting to pull away along with Thomas George.
Well, here's a guy that we got to update you on, is the 22 of Andrew Cardinale, back in 16th place. And didn't see what dropped him so far back here, Finny, but obviously was fixing some damage on the previous pit stop after he got into the fence, but he's struggling now.
Yeah, looks like he's got some new left side damage, and I see why he got back there. He had a little bit of a spin off of turn 4 about 5 laps ago.
Oh, well, I didn't notice him drop down the order. I saw some speeds that were slow, but I thought I was attributing that to McQuistion, the 93. So the 22 car obviously struggling now, but had a good run going. John Wilco in the 62, another guy that probably didn't have the season he was looking for, but potentially seeing him return in 2019 Season A. See, just up the road, AJ Henderson, getting really loose off of turn 4. Henderson returning for the first time in several months, I believe, and just up the road, Ethan Kurtz, about a second up the lane, has been involved in an accident so far tonight, but now you see Cardinale working around Henderson. Oh, Cardinale in the grass on the front straight, Finian. Through the grass he goes, got loose out of turn 4. He's going to lose even more spots. This is going from bad to worse for that 22 team.
Yeah, that was a mirror image of what he did when he spun off of turn 4 about now 8 laps ago. He did the same thing, ran through the grass, so that's going to lose him even more spots.
Oh, the 23 car in the wall in turn 3. Man, he just got loose on the straightaway. He looks like he tried to take a look at John Wilco after Wilco passed him, and then he just kind of turned dead right into the fence. And battle for the lead now. We got action all over the place. Cohen to the inside of Thomas George out of turn number 2. We're closing in on lap 50, and Greg Evans has caught this group once again. Cohen gets a nose in there right alongside the quarter panel. Not a whole lot of space to work with there. Out of turn 4, side by side for the lead. Who gets to the line this time first?
Ooh, they almost hit each other coming to the lines. Looks like it's going to be Cohen by just a bumper at the line, and yeah, 2000s at the line. Nick
Cohen takes the lead away on lap number 43. Greg Evans tries to get to the inside of that 9 car as well, but now we have our championship leader as the 21 of Cohan, Greg Evans, now fighting from behind. And what a shame that would be for Evans to lose this championship after winning so many races.
Yeah, and also notably, quick update on Rick McBride. He's fallen a few spots, falling back to 6th as the 67 of Brad Collins and the 28 of Timothy Johnson have gone around him.
Down into turn number 1, Evans takes the spot away from Thomas George, moved Greg Evans up to 2nd place. Cohan still consistently the quickest car on the racetrack. Can this be the night for that 21 team? I mean, it's been a long season of heartbreak. It's been a long, good season, but just has not managed to collect a checkered flag yet. But showing his strength early, but he just needs to run away from Greg Evans now. And that's a tall task, especially when the 2 has won 50% of the races this year.
Yeah, Cohen has finished no worse than 3rd 5 times this season, so that's 5 top 3s. So he's really has been so close. Just needed 1 win, really, just to help him, give him that little bit of a boost. He's been dying for that win, and if he keeps up this pace, it can come here and also come with a championship trophy.
Top 3 separated by just over a half a second. Then you got to look a couple seconds behind them to find Timothy Johnson in 4th, and then a big battle back here. Brett McBride fighting with Gabriel Perry. Brad Collins in 5th. That's a great run for the 67. Dean Doucette hanging around there. Doucette started 2nd, has not had the speed since then. Gail Brooks also peaking inside the top 10, as well as Rick Thompson, a 2-time winner here this season.
Yeah, we have not talked about Gail Brooks in a while. And I think part of that's due to just been some absent from a few races. Yeah, actually, last start was Chicago and finished 6th there, but is back here and still on pretty good form in the top 10 here.
Timothy Johnson just up the road, but here's a battle for 5th now. Brad Collins and Gabriel Perry out of turn number 2. A little bit close together on the back straightaway. Ooh, we see the 76 get it sideways and following right behind the 5 of Rhett McBride, who has fallen all the way to 8th. So McBride going backwards. Now, you mentioned the beginning of the speed run near Finian. I got to say, he's making a trade-off between that early run speed and the late run falling off. So that 5 car struggling now. But Collins and Perry continue to battle, and looks like Collins will just sneak in front of Perry for now.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about earlier, just the way he was running and the amount of, just how hard he was running earlier on. It looked like this was gonna happen sooner or later, and it's happening now to him, and he's really starting to fall off the pace.
He's side by side with Rick Thompson for 8th place, but he probably will fall back to 9th at the end of this battle. And Gail Brooks now looking for a spot on McBride as well. So his lap times have fallen well off the pace, about 9/10 of a second. The previous lap to Nick Cohan, who is still the only driver lapping under 30 seconds. So Cohan now has a half a second lead over Greg Evans in the 2 car as we approach lap 50. Dean Doucette to the inside of Brad Collins in the 67. Moved Doucette back to 6th. And there's a guy, I mean, I was really fascinated with his practice and qualifying speeds in the 29, but has not really had the race pace so far, but maybe a little bit of tire conservation strategy going on inside that 29 helmet, because he's starting to move himself back forward and is quite quick out there. At the line will be at the 1/3 mark to the final race of the 2018 Fuel Rigshare Cup Series, the inaugural fuel season. And look who's popped inside the top 10, Finney, in the 70 of Scott Eckrich. That guy is flying now. And he had quite a bit of damage from he was involved in 2 crashes at the beginning of this race, and he somehow got that car inside the top 10, and after starting back in 23rd.
Yeah, and again, I really am curious as to where he would be if he didn't have the damage to his car, because I definitely think he could have been up here fighting for the win.
Oh, we got one on the back straightaway. Looks like that's Rick Thompson in the 76 in the wall. Oh, did he save it, though?
Oh, he saved it.
Wow.
Almost hit the inside wall.
It looked like that for me. Let's take a look. Here's a look at...
he got extremely close.
Here's a look at what happened to the 76. I saw it go out of frame all the way down to the inside wall, and oh, man, he almost hit that entry point for the safety vehicles, but gets it back out inside the racetrack. Only loses a couple spots.
Yeah, I'm sure he's glad that he didn't hit that wall. He could ask Jeff Gordon how it feels to hit that inside wall.
Oh, it doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good, and also not protected by a safer barrier at the moment. So, see a long slide. Oh, man, that's so close. Well done by Rick Thompson. Looks like everyone's kind of settled in for now, Finian, but Nick Cohan has settled into a phenomenal pace, still running a 10th quicker than Evans at the moment. Now up 7/10 on those second place and third place car. Thomas George is still kind of keeping touch with Greg Evans. Behind them, Timothy Johnson is 1.8 seconds back, and then Gabriel Perry inside the top 5.
Yeah, and if you can tell me on your end, because I don't have the data available to me, how many laps these guys have put in under the stint?
37 is your answer to that.
Yeah, 37. So we're going to start approaching pit stops within about 10 laps or so. So these guys are going to have to start thinking about pit stops and think about the long game here and trying to set themselves up for the finish, because the way they're running right now, we should be going green for at least quite a while because everyone is very spread out.
Yeah, you mentioned being spread out here, Finian, but we have seen a lot of people struggling with the conditions. Even though it's grippy out there, these cars still have a ton of horsepower, and there's always a possibility for a caution with a single car incident. So some of these drivers might wait a little bit longer in the run. It's going to be a 2-stop race no matter what. The question is when you come down to get your service. Ethan Kurtz in the number 20 car gets into the wall again in turn 1. He's really been struggling, and he's really loose. Gets down to the apron in turn 2. He's been struggling all night with that car, obviously involved with the incident. And Calvin Filarski out of turn number 4. Filarski has retired that car, 27 laps down in 26th.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of drivers struggle in 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4. I think just 1 and 2, just the entry is so tight for these guys. And they typically run up towards the wall and then kind of turn in down off of 2. And then even off of 2, these guys are struggling for grip. So really the tire fall off is not working well for these guys.
We have our first taker for pit road, Justin Rodden in the 0-1 coming down. Obviously his night not going great, so I don't think this will necessarily force the hands of a lot of people, but could be the sign of things to come as Cohan now works his way through turn number 2 on lap 57. Gabriel Perry and Dean Doucette having a pretty good battle for 5th at the moment. And Perry started back in the 7th spot running 5th, so slow and steady progress for that 13 car tonight. New paint scheme on board that Toyota this week.
Yeah, when we talk about slow and steady progress, let's look back at the 70 Vectorich. He's up into 8th right now and actually trying to take away 7th from Brad Collins. So still moving up here as the tire is falling off.
So Rodden returns to the racetrack now, 2 laps down in 20th place, and waiting to see who's going to be the next taker. Andrew Cardinale is down on pit lane. He's been on pit road for a little while now. 16-second stop, not a phenomenal one, but getting himself back out there. Hopefully trying to recover this race a little bit. He had speed early, we've seen that, just hoping the damage didn't wreck that car too much.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's gone from having a fantastic night earlier on, running in the top 5, to having a horrible one now that he's stuck back in 19th.
Scott Eckrich right now is lapping just about a 10th slower than Greg Evans, and he is in 8th looking for 7th on the inside of Brad Collins now. That 70 car continues his climb forward. That damage does not seem to be hurting his performance so far.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if he can get a caution, at least one more, it should put him in a good spot to potentially fight for the win, or at least well within the top 5, maybe in the top 3.
Oh, big stack up and down in turn 1. Justin Rodden almost got in the back of Brad Collins. Now to the inside of the 70 of Eckrich. Comes off of turn 2. Side by side with him. Rodden trying to get his lap back from these cars.
Yeah, that's just the tire fall off right there. But these guys are losing about 2 seconds off of their fastest times.
Not an insignificant number. If Evans can beat Cohen to pit road by 1 lap, he'd be in really second to the good. Thomas George to pit lane now.
Yep. I was going to say, so I think we're going to start seeing some drivers come in. We should be, 41, 42 laps on the tires at this moment?
44 actually. So yeah, so this is about time when people are going to want to start coming down. Again, we will have to pit at least one more time, although if a caution comes out later in the race, I bet we'll see more than that. There you see Cohen going around the 12 of Johnny Martin, putting him a 7th lap down. Obviously, Johnny Martin involved in an earlier incident and gets up out of the way of 2nd place Greg Evans. Timothy Johnston to pit lane in that 28 car. The sun is going down here, Finian.
Yeah, I was gonna say it just actually ticked over to 6:01 in the sim, and honestly, at the rate we're going at, we might run out of sunlight, but that's not gonna matter for Cohen as he's gonna come down pit road out of the lead.
And interestingly, beat Greg Evans down here, Finian. So do you think Greg Evans might just commit to the overcut? We've seen that strategy sometimes work and sometimes not, and I'm just curious to see what your opinion is on whether or not this is a good strategy to pull in a championship situation.
I think a driver of his caliber could be able to pull the overcut and chase back down Cohen and try to get around him. But I think he might opt for the easier strategy, and yep, he's going to come down and just answer to the call from the 21.
Yeah, I think that's really the move to make. I would have stayed right with Cohen, not let him out of your sight. I don't think this is really the time to play any spectacular strategy. Maybe for the 5 of McBride, because he's really struggling, that might be a better option. But for Evans, he's fast. He doesn't need to do anything crazy. He just needs to go up there and pass that number 21 car. Now, it's going to be a little bit harder because Cohen beat him down, so Cohen will have a couple-second advantage over the 2 car when they return to the racetrack. But Cohen, I think if anybody can chase down Cohen, it'll be that 2 car of Evans. Philip Clark heads to pit lane, as well as the 00 of Don Runkle Jr.
Yeah, and you're talking about the 5 of McBride potentially pulling that strategy. He followed Evans right in, so he's also on pit road. And actually, I just saw Kurt C overshot his pit stall.
Yeah, Ethan Kurtz is not having a spectacular night. Looks like a fish out of water at Las Vegas, to be honest. He's struggled to keep that car going in the right direction, but he'll get his pit stop and head back out on the track. Gabriel Perry leading now. Scott Eckrich in second. Now, maybe Eckrich can pull that overcut strategy, but again, this is not really, he hasn't been here yet. It hasn't really been, I see Perry now pulling down. We haven't seen Eckrich most of the season, so I don't really know if he knows how to gauge everyone else, and looks like he's just going to follow Perry down. I'm surprised that no one's trying this strategy. See Eckrich locking the brakes up. Did he speed into pit road, Finian?
I think he might.
Well, I have you go check that out for us.
Yeah, oops. He looks like and he just slid through his pit stall as well. Yeah, came across the line at 65 miles an hour.
Oh, that's pretty hot. He might have gotten it down in time, but we'll keep an eye on that 70 car and see if he returns to pit road. Cohen and Evans now separated by just over a second. So interesting that Cohen beat Evans down by a lap, but really didn't gain a lot on Evans. So that's a little bit surprising to me. I would have thought Evans would have lost more time.
Yeah, and Eckrich is sitting in his pit stall, so he's serving his penalty, and he's just now getting underway out of his pit stall, so he's going to lose a lot of time here from a bunch of mistakes on pit road for that 70.
So, looks like Greg Evans now. Oh, with the 12 car, Johnny Martin's kind of spinning on the apron there. He'll keep it pointed in the right direction. I was going to mention that Cohen, what was I going to mention? I totally lost my train of thought because the 12 car spun out.
Something between Cohen and Evans?
I thought it was, but I was just saying that to try to remember, and now I lost it. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Whatever it was wasn't obviously that important. Still got guys pitting now. But Thomas George, interestingly, has taken the lead away from Cohen. And caution flies here, Finney. We got one around. And do you know who that is? I don't have an immediate...
I'm trying to find it as well. Oh, that's the 22 of Andrew Cardinale.
Oh,
He's
man.
around in turn 1.
Cardinale, that's big damage to the right front. And the reason why I wasn't able to find him is because there's drivers on pit road, and we checked the speed.
Oh.
So they're all 0, so let's take a look at what happened to Cardinale.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Oh, is this the 20 car again?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was a very weird place to have a wreck.
Oh, right down the middle of the straightaway. Oh, huge impact for that 22 car. Man. All right, here's my unpopular opinion I'm going to get roasted for. Well, let's look from above here, Finian. I'm going to say, and I don't, we don't usually like to put blame on anybody here. I'm gonna put that squarely on the shoulders of the 20 car. And,
oh, no, I would too.
The reason why is not only because he drifted up slightly out of his lane, but also because of his involvement in a couple other incidents today. I would say that is probably strike 2 or 3 for that 20 car. Obviously, involved that incident with Filarski. But yeah, he just drifted up the racetrack. It looked a lot worse than it probably should have.
Yeah, I was going to say, typically when you're going side by side, you want to at least, I would say, it obviously depends, but going through a curve like that, like follow the track lines, the indentations where the grooves are put into the track, and yeah, you can just by looking at that, you can tell that Kurtz came up into Cardinale. That's definitely gonna end Cardinale's day hard and back into the wall.
And curious to see what race control views about that. Kurtz is still out on the racetrack, and I don't see any penalty being served, so he might have just gotten away with that one as well. All right, so a little bit of a controversial issue there on the front straightaway. I guarantee you that Cardinale will not be very happy about that. You know what, Finian? Why don't you go? Let's have some fun. Why don't you go see and grab Cardinale and see if he wants to have a little talk.
All right, I will do that.
So while Finian grabs that, we'll take a look at.
Actually, small problem. There's almost no one in Discord, so
yeah, and they're all racing right now, so they probably won't be around.
Yeah, so
darn. I was kind of hoping we could get a little talk there. And I don't see the 20 car either.
No, yeah, none of the championship. Actually, the 20 car is here. Ethan Kurtz is here.
Oh, Ethan Kurtz is here?
Yeah.
Let's pull him up into the booth and have a little talk with him. Hey, Ethan Kurtz, SimTV, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ethan. Well, so far tonight, it's been a little bit of a rocky night for you. We just saw the incident there between you and the 22, and curious what your opinion about that was.
I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know. It might have been netcode or something. I'm not really sure. If it was my fault, I apologize. Yeah, it's been a rough night. We've just been off all night, and we've been getting into stuff, and it's just unfortunate. But yeah, if it was my fault, I apologize. I haven't got to see it yet, but...
All right, Ethan. Well, we wish you some better luck in the second half of this one, running P14 right now. Hope you have a little bit better night.
Thanks.
All right, so that Ethan Kurtz. So, yeah, like you said, so he hasn't really gotten a great view of it, obviously, because he's only seen from his perspective there. But obviously, sounds a little bit remorseful there. Obviously, I don't think he intended to do that. But I think when he goes back and checks that replay out, I think he'll see that there's probably a way to avoid that.
Yeah, definitely so. And big beneficiary from that caution coming out is the number 62 of John Welko was the only driver to not come down pit road when the caution came out. So he was still out on track, so he'll benefit from that. And that put 12th to 20th. They're all ahead of the leader, trying to get a waiver on to get back on the lead lap.
Well, that's going to shake some things up for sure. Obviously, cautions mid-pit cycle are never a great situation, but let's go head back to the booth here for a second and just talk about the race so far here. We're 71 laps in. We're a couple laps away from being halfway. So far, it's been pretty clean racing lately, but obviously we've seen some strategy shifts and some carnage between a couple different drivers in particular, Finian. So curious as to what we're going to expect for the second half of this race. Finian, you there?
Yeah, you cut out a lot.
Yeah, okay.
There,
so this is why we test these things, because every time I go to the booth, the Discord gets weird. So I'm gonna, I bet you that has something to do with something. That's why we test it, folks. That's why we give this a shot and take a look at it, and we'll work on it and improve. But I was asking you basically what your opinion is, what we're gonna see the second half, because we've seen an interesting mix between carnage and clean racing, and I'm not quite sure how the rest of this is gonna go.
I would say honestly pretty clean. We had a pretty good run here so far. I don't see why we wouldn't have going on later in the race. I know definitely the anticipation is going to pick up as we're just under halfway through this race. But I think these guys got a pretty good pace going. They seem to know what they're doing, and we've seen some pretty good action between these guys. So I think we'll see some pretty clean racing from here on out.
Well, we are losing some light here as well, Finian, so the visibility is going to be a little bit poor by the end of this. It's going to be kind of dark by the last couple laps. So these drivers will have to fight some changing visibility and some changing strategies as that caution threw some people off. Green flag flies, lap 73. Gabriel Perry leads them back down. So Cohan's got to make quick work of Perry, and he does. Drives right away. And that is, Perry's got more laps on his tires than everybody around him here. Caution immediately back out. And it's Ethan Kurtz in the 20. And we were just talking to him about...
I guess who else was involved?
Oh, I think I know where this one started. Let's take a look. And I think I know now who was at fault in the last wreck. Well, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Don't think we need to elaborate on that a whole lot.
No, we do not. I gotta say, if we can get a replay from the 71 of Gale Brooks, who did a fantastic job avoiding this.
Yeah, we'll go back and we'll take a look at Gale Brooks' view. All right, here's a replay from Gale Brooks' on board. Restarted in, I believe, 15th. See, just up the road, there's the 22 car. Oh, wow, yeah, that's... woo, Brooks did miss that 20 car by an inch.
Yeah, then almost got into the 20 when he came up across the track, but I think he probably read the situation and figured out what was going on, so he backed out of that. So good thinking on his part.
So was Cardinale always behind Ethan Kurtz on this pace lap, or did there something else just happen?
I can check for you.
Yeah, please do. I thought I saw the 20 car catching up to the field a long time ago, and I thought the 22 was already in front of him, but maybe not. All clean and orderly, looks like.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing between them. Didn't see anything else happen. I don't think. All
right. Well, obviously that incident pretty self-explanatory there. So Cardinale and Kurtz are going to have a little bit of a beef, and obviously this is not the first driver that that 20 car has had a run-in with this year. Also, the 51 of Kevin Bartelt. If you remember back to Pocono, we didn't broadcast that race, but if you go check out the voice chat rewind for Pocono that is on our channel a few weeks ago, you'll see that there was some words exchanged there. Obviously, Kevin Bartelt out of the race now, 41 laps down. Didn't actually see what happened to the 51, but I imagine was caught up in one of those incidents earlier tonight.
Oh, and from the looks of it, it looks like Ethan Kurtz in the 20 and Andrew Cardinale were both disqualified.
Oh. So the 20 and the 22?
Yes.
That is big. So Ethan Kurtz disqualified as well as the 22 car of Andrew Cardinale. But that is some big... That's the first time, I believe, that we've had a disqualification in the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series, the last race. We've had people get parked before, but I think this was not so much for the incidents as it was for the intentional payback and all that sort of stuff. So Cardinale and... But man, this has been a wild race so far tonight, Finian.
Yeah, it's only going to be wilder, and I honestly am curious if we're going to still have sunlight left to do this race, because the sun is pretty low in the sky.
And the more we roll around under caution, the lower that sun's going to get, and the harder it is for these drivers to see. Well, Nick Cohan would love the race just to end right now. He's been leading the race the last little bit, stole the lead back away from Perry on the restart. Up in front of Greg Evans. He'll have Evans to his rear bumper on the restart. Maybe Cohan takes the outside lane and traps Evans behind Perry?
I would think that's a good move, but again, it just really depends. Does Cohan feel he has enough speed to get around Perry as well on the outside? So it's going to be kind of up to Cohan's discretion, and we should be getting one to go this time through.
All right, so we, as you mentioned, we should get the one to green this time through, and Cohan, Perry, Evans, George Thompson, your top five, and just like that, Cohan drops up to the top lane, and that's going to trap the 2 car behind Gabriel Perry. That's a phenomenal strategical move here. We're past halfway, Finney. We're about 25, 30 laps away from our final pit stop, and then it's a sprint to the end, and this is looking more and more like Cohan's night.
Yeah, definitely. He really picked up the pace in the middle part of this race, or middle part of this run that we've been going on, and then has never looked back from the top. So he's in a really good position right now. If he can nail the restart and hope that Perry misses a shift, or gets a bad restart and holds up the 2 of Evans, he'll be in a golden position looking to the next half of this race.
Take a look at our track temp, 82 degrees, so down 8 degrees from the initial start, and I will say that as the track has gotten cooler, Cohan has gotten faster.
Yeah, indeed, and we would potentially expect that trend to continue as the race goes on. It's currently 81 degrees on the track and getting cooler by the second as the sun begins to set.
The attrition is high here tonight, Finney, and Cohen almost dropped out internet-wise.
Yeah.
That scared that. Oh, my goodness.
That would have been big.
Well, Nick Cohen has gotten faster as the sun has dropped down to the horizon, but we still have, looks like 72, 73 laps to go. Green flag flies again, and Cohen gets a great jump, and that traps the 2-car of Evans behind Perry.
Evans trying to go 3 wide on the outside of Perry as they head into turn 1.
And he's going to get back around that 13 car, but that was a successful move for Nick Cohen, and it looks like Greg Evans is going to get a spot back away from Thomas George as well, but that bought Cohen some time. As the rest of the field fights off into turn 3, there's Scott Eckrich trying to rebound in 11th.
Oh, and it looks like Thomas George is still putting up a fight to the inside of Greg Evans. Wasn't able to get clear of him in that turn.
Side-by-side fighting. That's exactly what Cohen wants to see in his mirror. Now up 0.7 of a second on the guys behind him. Evans will probably clear the 9 out of turn 2, and he does, but he's got to make up a little bit of ground on that 21 car as we head towards lap 80. Ooh, there was a little bit of contact between Johnson and Rick Thompson off into turn number 3.
Yeah, Rick Thompson having a fantastic run here tonight in the last race of the season.
And I believe he also missed a couple races as well, and he was quick enough that he probably could have run a little bit higher up in the standings had he made a couple more races. So Thompson been very, very quick all year, has 2 wins. Actually, that's the second most wins all season, I believe, out of anybody, right?
Yeah, I was going to say it's Greg Evans with 8 wins, followed by Rick Thompson and Scott Eckrich with 2 wins apiece.
Running on board with Brian Bliss in the 54 car. A little bit of a scrape up the road from Dean Doucette. He's in the concrete out of turn number 4. John Wilco in 11th, having a good night. Brad Collins still in 10th. Now, the leader of Cohen has been tracked down just a little bit, 0.4 of a second now. So Evans is closing. McBride has worked his way back into 5th. But he's going to need to do a little bit better than that if he wants to have a shot to win this thing. I think you're going to have to win this race if you want to win the championship.
Yeah, that's what it seems like it's shaped up to be. I didn't think, really the only other competitor for these guys for the championship would be Thomas George in the 9 as far as competing for the win. Maybe Scott Eckrich if he can move up a few more spots.
Big gaggle out of turn 2. Doucette and Timothy Johnston side by side down the back straight. Doucette kind of drove it in deep, tried to clear the 28 mid-corner, couldn't get it done. He's going to slide up. That's going to bring Brad Collins back into the fight. And as soon as the sun has really dropped below the grandstand height there, Finney, that whole front straightaway is getting dark.
Yeah.
Let's ride on board with third place Thomas George, and we'll go around a lap here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You can see still a lot of light in turn 4. As we get on the front straightaway down to turn 1, you see the sun dropping below the grandstand height. It gets pretty dark over there.
Yeah, it's only going to get darker as we still have over 60 laps to go in this race, so
Evans and Cohen have been kind of matching each other. One lap Cohen will be faster, the next lap Evans will be faster. But 3.5 of a second between the leaders. See Gale Brooks popping out of line on the inside of John Wilco down into turn number 3. Looks like Brooks will take that spot away. Down on the apron, a little bit of a slip there for that 71 DeWalt Camry, but out of the corner will clear him and move on. I think it's safe to say we're going to have another caution here, Finney, and these guys are all real close together. And as the tires begin to wear out, it gets a little bit treacherous to be out there. You see McBride now to the inside of Scott Eckrich. Actually, that's Eckrich on the outside of McBride trying to take 5th away. So I would say that 70 car will be in contention for the win by the end of the night.
yeah, he just needs to move a few more spots here, but has been using his tires to do so. So kind of curious what's going to come out of that 70 car, but been doing a fantastic job all night moving him up into position.
And with that run on the outside of turn number 2, he'll clear the 5 of McBride inside the top 5 for the first time tonight. Scott Eckrich looking good after a slow start. There's Will Roberts, I believe, popping out of line. That Bass Pro Shops number 96 to the inside of Wilco. Wilco's been dropping back like a fly here since the restart. Up front, though, Cohan continues to lead by 0.4 of a second over Evans. Behind in the battle for third, still hot. Thomas George, Gabriel Perry fighting for it. And there's Eckrich in the background, getting closer and closer.
Yeah, Perry's really been hounding on the back bumper of Thomas George, trying to take away third place.
Finney going to cut you off there.
So.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, that was a timing glitch. It was showing that Evans was side by side with Cohan, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was looking at my time. I was on the rear bumper of George and saw that they were side by side and had to cut away for a second. But Evans has chopped that lead down to under 0.2 of a second. So I think we might have a lead change here in a couple laps if it continues. Ooh, a great run through 3 and 4 for that number 2 car. Tell your sister I said hi.
I literally just gave her a death stare.
It's fine. We're casual around here. Out of turn number 2 now. Nose to tail for the lead for the championship. Nick Cohan, Greg Evans, they're nose to tail. They've been like this most of the season, but it's been roles reversed here tonight so far. Nick Cohan has had command of it in the later stages here.
Yeah, and Evans has been, like we were saying, Evans has been slowly reeling him in. Actually, was a little bit slower last lap through, but we'll see as they come across the stripe. And Cohen's actually building a little bit of a gap to Evans. But I want you to guess, out of the top 5, who's the fastest car?
Well, I'm not going to guess. I'm just going to look at my timing and scoring and cheat. And the fastest car is the 70 of Scott Eckrich.
You're no fun. But yeah, he's been pretty fast. He's caught the tail end of these guys. Actually, the top 5 has kind of separated themselves from the rest of the field. So Eckrich is coming on through. Might have something here for Perry if he can get a nose in.
Evans now going to the bottom of the racetrack. We haven't really seen that be a very valid line later in the runs. It's been moving up the racetrack as the night goes on. But Greg Evans experimenting with it and trying to close in on Cohan for that lead. We have 60 laps to go here, Finney. We're getting down to it. About 30 minutes of racing left. And Cohan solidly in contention to win that championship, but he's got to keep that 2 car behind him for the entire rest of the night if he wants to hang on and win.
Yeah, that's a tall order, too. He's got to do it for over 60 laps.
Eckrich, though, is still one of the quickest cars out of this front group. The third fastest car that time by. So he'll at least get by Perry in the next couple laps. And this has just been an incredible rebound for that 70. I mean, we were hounding him for not qualifying the car because he got involved in 2 crashes, and they weren't insignificant. He damaged the car badly, and his team fixed that up, and he's back out here running 5th right now looking for 4th.
Yeah, and has done a solid job of recovery as well. As he tries to look to the inside of Perry, wasn't able to get it done, but yeah, has done a solid job all day. And really, did Eckrich say that he was running a full schedule next season?
I believe he is running a full schedule next. That's the latest I heard is that he is running a full schedule next season. So yeah.
Yeah, so I expect a lot out of that 70 car as far as fighting for the championship, and we'll really have something for the 2 of Greg Evans.
Battle for the lead now. Here comes Greg Evans. He's got a nose inside of Nick Cohan. Down into turn 1, door to door. Can Evans clear him? No, he slips mid-corner. Cohan drives back around the outside.
And Cohan did a great job of pinching Evans to the inside of 1 and 2. Wasn't able to let Evans, prevented Evans from getting the run off of 2, so he will keep him at bay. But how much longer can Cohan keep doing this?
He's definitely slower than the 2 car right now on the bumper out of turn number 4. Greg Evans is all over Nick Cohan. Lap 95 of 150. We're getting down to it. And Evans just has to be patient. Remember, we've just seen him make no mistakes this year. Cohan has made mistakes under pressure before, but he's got to make no mistakes from here on out if he wants to beat that 2 car. That's a really, really tall task. But, I mean, if anybody can do it, the 21's probably the best guy to do it.
Evans with a nice late entry into 3 and 4, and he's going to have a run on the front straightaway.
Will he look to the inside or to the outside, or will he stay in behind? A push to the back of the 21. Hello, I'm here, says Greg Evans, down into turn 1. He's going to close right up to the rear bumper. He's getting in the head and in the mirror of that leader.
Yeah, I would say as a driver, there's nothing worse that you want to see than your competitor, main competitor, for not just this race but the championship overall, right there bumping you from behind. That really gets into your head, so Cohen's got to kind of tune him out, just run his own race and prevent that too from getting around him.
You see the purple spoilers on these cars. They're battling for not only the race win, but for the championship. A 17-race season concluding tonight at Las Vegas. The sun is going down on the first season of the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. Evans to the top side now, trying to track down Cohen. He's running a little bit quicker than him right now, but just has to find a way around. I don't think that bottom lane is where he's going to do it, though. It just seems like you lose too much grip on the bottom.
Yeah, not only that, you can really get your have like your competitor pinch you down, like we saw the 21 of Cohen do. So he's definitely going to have to, if he's going to make a move, it's got to be on the top side.
And we have to think about pit stops coming soon here, Finney. We're 28 laps into the stint, so we can go another 20 or 30 laps. But I think for sure you're going to see people start to come as soon as possible to get that undercut. And that might be a good thing for Evans to try to undercut Cohen by 1 lap just to get that spot. And looking at their pit stops from last, not this recent stop, but the first stop they had, where Cohen didn't gain a lot on Evans with the undercut, Evans was quicker on pit lane as a whole. And if he does that again, he could end up the winner. You see Cohen push up out of turn 4 and loses some more ground to that 2 car.
Yeah, I think the pit window is gonna open in about 6 laps time, but we shouldn't really see anyone come down for another 10 to 15 laps at least.
So Evans has kind of backed up his charge for a moment, maybe planning to remount it here in a couple laps.
Oh, and notably, while that battle's been going on, Rhett McBride has gotten back around Scott Eckrich.
Yeah, Eckrich was pushing pretty hard on the initial start to that run, so I can see why it would be falling back on him now. McBride, however, seems like he's been able to harness his tires better than he had the first part of the race. Learned something, because he's actually lapping pretty good right now, only about 2/10 off the leaders. As speaking of the leaders, side by side for the lead again. Here comes Evans to the inside.
Yeah, try to make the move to the inside, but just no bite. Cohen's able to defend a lot more on that outside. So,
I mean, speaking of defending, Cohen went for defensive line down into turn number 3, showing the block to the 2 car, Greg Evans. He's going to make it harder. He's not going to lay over and let him have this one, Finian. With 50 laps to go, this is not the time to let a driver by. You cannot give up anything. All the poker chips on the table now at Las Vegas here, Finian. 50 to go for the championship and the first Fuel Rigshare Cup Series season. I think Cohen's struggling.
Yeah, I think he is, and I think Evans knows that, so he's just kind of trying to poke his nose where he can to try to get the position done, to get the pass done, but I just don't think it's enough at the moment.
Well, he's been doing a good job hanging on, but the question is when's the one time he overdrives, slips up, and lets that 2 car by, and you know how hard it is to get back by Greg Evans after he takes the lead. I mean, if you can keep him out of the lead, you might have a shot at... Oh, we see the slip right there! Cohen slides out of turn 2. Side by side on the back straightaway. Here comes Greg Evans down into turn number 3. And it looks like this might be the pass for the lead, but he slips mid-corner, and Cohen's got to maintain this spot. He cannot let the 2 car get around him. Out of turn 4, Cohen somehow hangs onto it.
Wow, and he's going to have enough of a run to get back around, so fantastic driving from Cohen. Almost lost the lead there, and I think Cohen at least has to do, at least keep Evans behind until pit stops, until they're able to make pit stops, and then once the 2 of Evans gets around him, come down pit road. I think that's got to be the call for the 21.
The other thing Greg Evans can do here, Finn, if he doesn't push this issue, he can follow the 21, and then he gets to make his decision based off what Cohen does. If Evans is out front, then he has to react to what Cohen is doing, and I'd rather be behind in this situation. An incredible battle for the lead here. The pit window is open now, and we'll see drivers start to come down and trickle in the next couple laps. We might see some wait a little bit later in the run. Evans back to the rear bumper, the 21, a push down into turn 3, a big push, a huge push. There it is again. 1, 2, 3 knocks on the rear bumper. Hello, who's home here in the 21 car out of turn number 4? Side by side again.
He's going to get a bit of a run. Yeah, he's going to get a bit of a run off of 4. He's going to carry that run all the way to turn 1, and he's going to be side by side with Cohen into turn 1. There they go, and it looks like Evans is going to do the dive.
Oh, he does it. He clears him, but Evans slides up the racetrack, and Cohen's going to try to do the crossover, but again, he needs to maintain this lead, and Evans had to push really hard to clear Cohen, so they're side by side down the back straight, and looks like Cohen's got to clear Evans this time, but he doesn't get there. He slips mid-corner, and they're going to be door-to-door out of turn number 4, but I think now the advantage lies squarely in the hands of the 2 car.
Yeah, and there you see Evans with that nice run off of 4, but Cohen's still got a bumper there, He's going to try to do what he can into one, and it looks like Evans is just clear of him.
Okay, so now here's what Cohan's got to do. If he can't get this lead back right now, he needs to come straight to pit road and get as big of a jump on the pit lane as he can, because obviously the 2-car is lapping quicker right now. If you let him continue to get that lead, it'll be harder and harder to wrestle it back under the pit sequence. I think you'll see this 21 hit pit road as soon as he hits his fuel number. I think this is probably the most important decision that Cohan's ever had to make. Already, Evans is up the road by 0.3 of a second. Cohan's got to come now. If he lets Evans get too far out in front, it's going to be really, really hard to get that time back. Rhett McBride on pit road here, Finian. He's already in and out, so he's done.
Yeah, so McBride, knowing that he can't just purely beat these guys on pace, he knows he's got to do something strategy-wise, so he's going to lay the cards out here. I think he knows that he's one of the guys outside looking in. So
I like that call. I like that, because obviously he wasn't going to go up here and race these guys for the win, so he had to try something. See the battle for third going on behind him with George and Perry. Perry wants it from George. A little bit of a slip down into turn 1 by the 13. And Cohan right back to the rear bumper of the 2. He has not given this lead up yet.
Yeah, we know that right now, so if these guys continue to run out for at least 3 or 5 more laps, then McBride's going to cycle out ahead.
So we conclude lap 108 now, Finian. We have about 21 minutes of racing remaining. The ticker at lap 130 will begin counting down the laps, and we're getting closer and closer. Now you see Cohan slipping back some more from Greg Evans, and McBride is done pitting, so he's just going to go to the end from here. He's just got to hope these guys stay out a long time so that he gets as big of a lead as he can, because I don't think he's got the pace to hang on. But who else will we see to pit road first?
I don't know. I don't think we might see many other people. Really, the only incentive for the championship guys is to come to try to outsmart each other. And we already saw one of them come down pit road. But I think the rest of the field is going to play this pretty textbook and cut the run in half.
Well, we see Brad Collins and Dean Doucette coming down right now. So we'll see if anybody around them begins to follow. Once the dominoes begin to fall, Finian, I think everyone decides to come down. But I think, I thought Cohan would lose a lot more ground to Greg Evans, but he really hasn't. Yeah. He's still keeping in touch. And I think that's important because he can follow the 2-car to pit road like this. I just still think he should beat him by about 1 lap or 2 laps just to ensure that he gets the lead back. Thomas George hits pit road from I believe he was 4th. He's going to head down. He's already 7th, 8th now as he's in pit lane. Will Roberts, so Rick Thompson.
Yeah, so already some guys starting to make their trip down pit road. So now when do the leaders come down?
Here comes Cohan right now. That was a really hard entry. Does he get it woed down on the brakes? He will. A great entry. That was about as much time as you can make on the entry to pit road at Las Vegas.
Yeah, he just has to make sure he doesn't slide through the stall. This could be the last pit stop that he has to make this season. Can't afford to mess it up.
Let's keep an eye on the 21. Into his box. A beautiful stop in his box. Evans. He's coming to pit road this time by... No, is he? Yes, he is. Here he comes down to pit lane. Oh, he's in real hot, though, Finian. Can he get it slowed down in time? Yes, he does. Ooh. All right, let's keep an eye on the 21. What was his pit time here, Finian? It looked like it was a 14.7. Not a bad time, but a total pit road time of 40.2 seconds. Where is the 2 of Greg Evans? Here he comes. Got that first pit stall. This is the last time the 2 cars are going to need to hit pit road. Right now, he's in.
And here come the left sides back up on his car. And where's Cohan? Cohan's in the middle of 3 and 4, turning on to the front straightaway.
Slower stop. A slower stop for the 2 car, Finian. A 15.2 second stop, but overall about the same. But where is that 21 car? Down into turn 1. We will see a pass for position. Cohan is going to come around the outside of the 2 of Greg Evans out of turn number 2. Is he going to get enough? Yes, he does. By the 2 car goes Nick Cohan. He'll reassume the lead now with 35 laps to go.
That's exactly what Cohen needed to do. Now, does Greg Evans, he has one lap fresher tires, which isn't too much, but it's still fresher nonetheless, so he's going to use whatever he can to try to chase down the 21. And we saw him do it once before, but is he able to do it again and get that pass, not just for the lead of this race, but for the championship?
All right, well, with all that going down, Finian, we can't ignore the fact that Rhett McBride is currently your championship leader, up in 5th place right now, 3.5 seconds up the road from Nick Cohan with 35 laps to go. That's a pretty sizable gap, but it's probably going to start coming down pretty quick. Let's take a look at how many more laps he's got. He's got about 6 lap older tires, but that's a pretty sizable lead over Nick Cohan, so we'll watch that drop as the rest of the race goes through.
Yeah, notable. So we're got to keep an eye on Rhett McBride and see how he's able to manage it. The one thing he's been struggling with all race long has been being able to manage those older tires, and he seems to suffer a lot from that, from not being able to do so. So if he can manage his tires this run, he might be able to be the one that ends up on top.
Did Rhett McBride just... I mean, he actually... Finian, last time by, did he actually gain time on Nick Cohan? No. Lost 0.3. But that 5 car might have just done something here, Finian. If he can just hang on to this lead. We saw how long it took Evans to get around the 21 of Cohan. If he can just hang on to this spot, he could be your champion.
And Greg Evans got around Nick Cohan. So moves Evans up into 2nd for the championship overall as they run.
That was interesting. So Cohan slips and Evans gets by. So Evans just seems quicker right now. But can Cohan get that spot back? These guys have been dogfighting all night. It really hasn't been clear which one's better. I mean, they both had their moments, but here comes Nick Cohan right back to the rear bumper of Evans, returning the mind games down into turn 3.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. These guys can't afford to battle, really. They are slightly catching Rhett McBride, but if they start to battle, he might get out of their windshield. And here comes Cohen back to the inside of Evans.
They trade spots again. McBride is 3.5 seconds up the road, so Nick Cohan has just taken back that 2nd spot away from Greg Evans. We're closing in on 30 laps to go, so our top 3 in the standings, our top 3 in the championship, our final 3 guys are in the top 3 spots in the running order, Finian. It's getting down to it. It's been a great race. It's getting even better now. McBride 3.4 seconds up the road. Cohan and Evans fighting again, side by side on the front straight. Evans to the inside. Looks like Evans will clear the 21 this time. And Cohen's going to try to do the crossover.
I actually wonder if these guys, it almost looks like they're trying to draft each other up to Rhett McBride.
I mean, the draft isn't hugely effective in these cars.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm curious about. It almost looks like they're trying to do so, but it might just be them battling. But looks like Evans is going to stay in front of Cohen for now.
They don't need to do that. I mean, they're 0.3 a lap faster than Rhett McBride. I don't think that's a necessary thing. But here comes Cohen back down to the inside, trying to make up more ground on Greg Evans, because if he can't get around Evans before he starts to run away, it's going to be game over. But look who's coming. Thomas George into the fight now from 4th. He's closing in on these guys as they battle for position.
And this is exactly what McBride wants to see. He wants to see these guys battle for position again.
So Cohan is at the biggest disadvantage he's been at to Greg Evans in the last 50 or so laps. But they are catching McBride at a fervent pace now, 0.4 a lap. And that will most certainly be enough pace to catch him before the race is over. It's been a 17 race long season, and Evans has won 8 of those races. He's put himself in position to win a 9th and final race for the season and take home the championship trophy. And Nick Cohan seems to be struggling just a little bit here, but Rhett McBride is 2.5 seconds up the road, trying to run away and steal this one at the last minute from the 2 guys that dominated the whole night.
Yeah, and Evans and Cohen are catching him at about 0.3 of a second, so within about, they should catch him at this rate within 8 laps.
McBride heads off into turn 1 at well over 200 miles an hour, trying to get some more speed out of those tires, but he seems to like he's hit the cliff in terms of what grip the tires have to offer. and is now lapping over 30.6 seconds. It's not going to be enough to hang on, as Greg Evans is coming fast. 1.8 seconds back now. Cohan has dropped off. I don't know what is into this 21 car, Finney, but it's definitely not as fast as the previous run.
Yeah, no, it looks like Cohen's really starting to fall off the pace now and starting to fall off of this battle for the championship here. I just don't think he's got it at this point. But really, we're looking back to the 5 of Rhett McBride. Right now, he needs a caution. If a caution is to come out, this would save his race and give him a very good shot at this championship with a short run to the finish.
Lap 125, we're about to begin in just a moment. 1.1 seconds separate McBride and Evans. Half a second separate Evans and Cohan. The top 3 in purple are your championship contenders. The highest finishing driver will take home the championship trophy. Right now, that's McBride, but Evans is coming and coming fast. Nick Cohan just behind, closing a little bit, and there is some lap traffic in the way here that could slow down the 2 car of Evans just enough to let Cohan have another crack at it here, so we'll keep an eye on this. Looks like Wilco stays well out of the way here.
Yeah, I think he knows what these guys are battling for. Doesn't want to get involved in that. But yeah, gap is now under half a second between Evans and McBride, and Evans is catching fast.
Yeah, not a great lap from McBride, 30.8. And I think we might even see the pass for position this lap or next lap is. Here comes Evans down to the inside into turn 3. Will he take a look? Here he comes. Pass for position and potentially for the championship with 25 laps to go. Greg Evans to the inside of Rhett McBride. Pass complete. You have your new leader, the 2 of Greg Evans.
And Cohen is severely fallen off the pace now. Is almost a second behind Evans, and I really think he doesn't have anything left in that car.
That would be absolute heartbreak for Cohan. He had such a great middle segment of the race. If the race ended 20, 30 laps ago, he would be your winner. But obviously, we have to run all the way out to the end of the 150-lap race tonight, and Greg Evans has earned this. He has earned this more than anybody else has earned anything in their life. I mean, a winning percentage of 50%. I can only remember.
It's going to be more than that.
It will be more than that. It's going to be like 54 or 56 or something, some crazy number like that. But, I mean, this is just absolute flawless driving, no mistakes. You saw Cohan one slip up earlier that, you know, gave Evans an upper hand. It had to make Cohan drive a little bit harder, lose that spot to Evans, and then when they came down to pit road, Cohan was already playing defense, and Evans, ever since then, has just been on the move. Now we're going to have a pass for second place as Cohan has caught McBride, but both of them are about a second behind Greg Evans. I was taking a look at that 21 car a couple laps ago, Finney. There is a little bit of right front damage on that 21. It's very, very, very minor. I don't think it's affecting him, but I didn't see where he got that.
I think that was earlier in the race between him and Cardinale.
Oh, you're probably right about that. That was that opening contact the first couple laps. Is to see Cohan clear McBride now. So the only chance left for McBride is the yellow to come out and maybe play some strategy here. We're going to have 20 laps to go at start-finish line. The ticker will begin counting down. The next 10 minutes and 20 laps are the final 20 laps of the 2018 Rigshare Fuel Cup Series season. And Greg Evans needs to go 20 more times around the 1.5-mile oval here in Las Vegas to claim a championship trophy. Last time by, Cohan was a little bit quicker, 0.05 of a second. But he's going to need to pick up a lot more speed than that if he wants to walk away the champion.
Yeah, again, I was kind of curious if he was going to try to back up a little bit, save his stuff for the end, but it's kind of a tough move to pull off. So I don't know if he's going to have enough here if he picks up the pace right now to try to catch Evans and then also pass him. So we'll see. Keep an eye on the 21. And yeah, he is closing in the gap just a little bit.
Yeah, I did hear from internal team communications that Cohan is saving his tires a little bit. My question is, though, Finian, is Greg Evans doing the same and just doing it faster?
Well, I guess time will tell. It's kind of, I do want to say no, just due to the pace that we saw Evans had. So let's see if Cohen's got something for him in this last 20 laps.
Across the line, lap times for the two-car Greg Evans, a 30.7 for, yeah, 30.682 for Nick Cohan, a 30.589. Cohan is lapping quicker than that two-car here, Finian. But can he be consistent? He's closed in about a 10th.
Sliding off of 2, yeah. So Cohen's really forcing the issue with his car. He's pushing it to its absolute limit.
Out of turn 4 now, 17 laps to go. The sun is continuing to set here. The temperature is cooling off that time by. Slower for Cohan. Lost all that progress he just made by 0.2 of a second. One second back exactly. All it's going to take is one slip for Greg Evans, but I cannot recall a time when I ever saw Greg Evans make a slip.
Yeah, neither can I. It's you almost have to look really far back. But yeah, I don't remember ever seeing something of that sort. Evans has been so consistent with this car, the way he drives. It's very uncharacteristic of him to slip up in the corner. But you see Cohen still trying to push, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
See a couple battles kind of going on midfield here. Dean Doucette, Gale Brooks, Dean Doucette, Gale Brooks, and Rick Thompson are the drivers I'm looking at. Evans and Cohan just kind of matching lap times here. Not a huge advantage to either one at this point, but can Cohan... I mean, I've heard from his communications that he is saving his tires, but when is the time to turn up? I mean, we have 15 laps to go. It's a second up the road for him to go get Evans. I mean, that's a tall task.
Yeah, I would say with 20 laps to go, and I think we saw him flip the switch there with 20 to go. He gained, cut that lead by about a fourth, but then slipped up in a few corners, and that's put him back now. So I don't know if he's even got enough as they run to even catch up to him.
Well, let's take a look at their lines here, because Cohan is riding the bottom of the racetrack. Now, what is Greg Evans doing? He's up the racetrack. Yeah, up the racetrack. Now you see Cohan on the bottom trying to make up time. And that time through, looks like he did take a chunk out. It was up over a second. Now he's back under a second, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I mean, he could still be saving something, and that slide you saw was just a minor slip. But, you know, every time you slide these tires around, Finney, and they gain a lot of heat, and it's hard to cool them back down. Quicker for Cohan that time through a 30.7 to a 30.8 that Evans just ran.
I guess Cohen's back on a charge again. Big question on everyone's mind is it enough time? As they come down now, closing in on 10 laps to go.
And is the time he gaining going to all go away when Evans figures out what Cohan's doing different? You can see the different lines forming. Cohan kind of rim riding the bottom, and Evans kind of up the racetrack 2 or 3 lanes. Quicker still for Cohan again, at 30.8 to a 30.9 for Evans. 0.7 of a second is the gap, so he's taken out 0.3 the last couple laps. He's visually closing.
Close. Yeah, it'll be close at this rate.
What's the lap times at the line this time? 30.9, 30.87. So it's small progress, but he's eating in. I'm curious to see if Evans will start going to that bottom line to try to defend from Cohan's advances, because that's where Cohan's making up his time. He's on that bottom groove.
I feel like Evans probably won't go to the bottom until Cohen's caught right back up to him. I think he's gonna, if anything, try to save up his tires for that last battle between these two.
10 laps to go in the first season of the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. Greg Evans and Nick Cohan have been the dominant cars not only this race but all season. But Nick Cohan, that time through, took another big chunk out of Greg Evans' lead. He's been saving his tires. Out of turn 2, it's 0.6 of a second gap. That's almost a half a second since he started this progress here, Finian. It's 10 laps to go, but this is far from over. McBride has fallen to 5th. He's out of this. The top 2 are contending for the championship. Greg Evans has won 8 of 16 races. Nick Cohan has won 0. But he's been inside the top 3 so many times this season and just needs one good finish here. And it's this one. He needs to win this race and beat Greg Evans to take home that trophy. 9 to go now, and a half a second separating the leaders. And what's the mental strain on Greg Evans if he's looking in the mirror? Is he saving too, or is he looking in there panicking that Cohen's chasing him down?
I can imagine that he's going to have to be calm and just continue his own line, maybe try to shift around a little bit here and there, but I think he's got to save up and trying to fight off the 21, because I believe the 21, he's going to use up a lot of his tires trying to chase back down the two Evans. So all Evans has to do is just save enough tires to defend off the 21 as Cohen slips big off of 2.
He was quicker last time by a couple hundredths, but did he just throw away all that progress with one simple slip? It's still showing 0.6 for me out of turn number 4. 7 laps to go. We're running out of time for Nick Cohen. That time through. Slower by 1/10.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I think Cohen's really pushing his car beyond its limits and almost gets into the wall there.
He's pushing, but I still think he's got a little bit in the tank here, Finney. If he can just get a little bit more progress, if he can just catch a little bit more slipstream on the straightaway, it doesn't help a lot, but it's certainly some. Out of turn 4, let's see what the lap times are. This time, 6 laps to go. Is he close enough to make a move? 30.9 to a 30.9. 0.6 of a second, though. He's closed in a little bit from the last lap. I just don't know if he's got enough. You see the totally different lines these guys are taking. Evans has dropped to the bottom in turns 3 and 4. And I think that's hurting Cohen's progress. But now with 5 laps to go, there's 5 laps left in the season, 5 laps left at Las Vegas. And that time through, Evans was quicker, and Cohen is still over a half a second behind Finney, and I just don't think he's got the time left. And this all goes back to just after they pitted, when Evans got that lead away. We talked about just prior to them pitting how important it was that Cohen stays in front of Greg Evans so that you can play defense instead of having to be offensive. And lately, Cohen's just had to get too much out of his tires to make this happen.
Yeah, I think Cohen's best bet was to stay in front of Evans and try to defend. It worked well for him that first run through, and decided to change it up this time on the second run. But yeah, I don't think it's going to work as we come now closing in 3 laps to go.
He took a big chunk out of it last time through, and now he's still, well, 6 or 7 tenths, but he's been kind of all over the board, just hasn't been consistent enough. And as we come back to 3 laps to go, Finn, and I think Cohen is seeing this championship slip away as that 2 car gets just stagnant in the mirror. He's not been able to chase him down. 3 to go at Las Vegas. There is lap traffic up the road here, Finn, and I don't think there'll be a factor. But it's always something to keep in mind.
There they come now out of 4. 2 laps to go for Greg Evans for him to collect the championship. At this point, I think Cohen is kind of out of it.
We look back 17 weeks to the start of Daytona. A new league here within iRacing, the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. Rigshare came on board, the cryptocurrency mining service from the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. They helped us stream these races for the whole season, minus one section that we had prior commitments. But 17 weeks ago, we started in Daytona. The man that won that race was Rick Thompson. He's back in 10th, but the man who dominated this season was the 2 of Greg Evans. 8 wins in 16 races, and he has 1.5 miles left to make it 9 wins in 17 races. That is over a 50% win margin. He passes a lap car there out of turn 2 down the back straightaway. There is nothing like winning a championship, and Greg Evans in a half a lap will get to experience that for the first time in the Fuel Cup Series. The first season for the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series is coming to an end, and Greg Evans will win the inaugural Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. Out of turn 4, wins at Las Vegas, and takes the championship.
And Cohen will finish in second. He'll finish second in the race and in the championship. Thomas George will come home 3rd. Scott Eckrich in 4th. Gabriel Perry in 5th. And Rhett McBride's actually run out of fuel and will finish way down the order.
At that point, it doesn't matter. He wasn't in a position to win this race anyway, but you see now the congratulations from Cohen to Greg Evans. We talked about it all race, the domination that Evans has seen this season. But I just cannot say and express how impressive it is to come out here and win more than half the races. The competition is not weak here. It is some of the strongest competition in the entire iRacing simulation service. iRating's ridiculously high, but Greg Evans has managed to walk away with 9 trophies in the trophy case, and he'll add a 10th one with the championship trophy here in a little while.
Yeah, he's going to have to change that back bumper of his from saying I am second to I am first.
The only 2 that Greg Evans is familiar with is the number on the side of that door. And he burns it down and wins tonight's Las Vegas race, the final one of the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series, as Cohan, Thomas George, Scott Eckrich pull off. And while we're watching Evans celebrate, what about Scott Eckrich, though, Finian? We've seen this guy be so good. And next year, when he runs full-time, we'll have to keep an eye on him, because I guarantee you that 70 car will be a force to reckon with next year.
Oh, definitely so, and I'm looking forward to it. He's going to join the powerhouse between him and the 2 of Evans. I'm going to be interested in seeing how the battle goes between these 2 guys, the defending champion and the newcomer to this series.
Evans has completed his burnout. We'll head down to Victory Lane and talk with him and a couple others in a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back with interviews, the last ones for the season for the Fuel Rigshare Cup Series. Stay with us. Welcome back live here to Sim TV. We're here now with fourth place finisher Scott Eckridge, driver of the number 70 Camaro. Scott, obviously the couple races that you've entered this season, you've been extremely fast, but tonight was not an easy one. You started back in 23rd place, got involved in a couple wrecks, not at your doing, but ultimately rebounded for fourth. What a great night, but tell us what it was like from your perspective.
Yeah, it was a good night for us. You know, we're trying to get some on-track hours here for next year to figure out what this new track model is going to be about and whatnot. I feel like we had a solid night, you know, given the wrecks and whatnot. And first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate Greg Evans for an SHR for the championship there. That was very deserving and a great job by those guys.
Absolutely. We saw, obviously, those incidents out there. We saw that you didn't take a qualifying lap, and we're curious as to why that was. Was it just more wanting to stay out of the championship battle, or were you just doing it for fun?
Yeah, I was just here for data tonight, so I didn't want to mess up the pit stall selection for those guys, and you know, and just trying to stay respectful in our little.
All right, Scott. Well, obviously a great finish for you. We look forward to seeing you back here next season, and obviously, I believe you're running more races next season, if not a full schedule. Is that correct?
Yeah, we should be here full time with Loud Pedal Motorsports for the 2019.
All right, Scott. Well, thanks for talking to us. Congrats on the fourth, bud. It was awesome seeing you carve through that field, and we'll talk to you next season.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so there was Scott Eckridge. Next, we're going to talk to Thomas George, driver of the number 9 car. Thomas, what a race that was. Obviously, the champions battling just up the road from you, but you had a great car tonight, just came up a couple spots short. Tell us about your night.
It's kind of why I don't like doing interviews so close after the race, trying to keep my composure. But I'll just go ahead and say congrats to Greg. Definitely well-deserving. Good job on the Steel Horse front there. And cars all in the top 5, top 10 all season. As far as my race, now I thought I had won a lap 90 when I pitted and got in front of everybody, and then, you know, 2 idiot drivers like to wreck and bring out a caution, then they want to bring out another one because they can't just accept the little facts. So it is what it is. That last pit stop I kind of screwed myself and slid through, but no, the car just went away. And yeah, it was another good run, but I got to get a win at some point, but we'll see when that happens.
All right, Thomas, thanks for talking to us. A solid third place finish tonight for the 9 car. All right, next we got Rhett McBride, driver of the number 5 car. Rhett, obviously this night did not go quite the way you wanted it to, and ultimately ended up finishing all the way down in, I believe, 15th place. So didn't finish how you wanted, but didn't really start how you wanted either. But there was a moment there where you thought you might have had him snookered with that final pit stop. But tell us about that strategy call.
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say congratulations to my teammate Greg and Nick both. I mean, it's just been so much fun racing those guys all year. They're fast and clean, and only thing I wish I had a better run up front to give Greg some competition there at the end. But still, it was fun racing with him all year. And yeah, that last little run there, I was playing around too much early in the race, trying to find some different lines that I could use for later in the race, and kind of overdrove the entry on the high line and knocked the right front end pretty good, and the car just never was the same. The first part of the race, the car was absolutely flying, and I don't know, it felt so good. I started feeling, I guess I got too confident and kind of knocked it in. But there at the end, that was the only strategy I had, was to try to kind of make up for it on track with some fresher tires and get a gap. And as soon as I saw Greg in the mirror, I mean, he just kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was just a matter of time. And then there at the end, I don't know what happened with the fuel program, but it figured the fuel wrong, and it ran out of fuel a couple laps early.
Yeah, obviously not the finish that you wanted, Rhett, but looking forward to next season, what do you think you got against Evans and Cohan and Eckridge next season?
I think, well, we just got to win more races. I mean, Greg just was in another planet this year. I mean, I've raced with Greg, been his teammate for a long time, raced with him a long time, and that's one of the best seasons I've seen. So, I don't know. We probably need to practice a little bit more, I guess, before these races, and hopefully we're going to have a new tire when we get to Daytona in February, and we'll re-rack them and see what happens.
All right, Rhett. So P3 in the championship, P15 in the race. Thanks for talking to us, and have a good night.
Okay, Kyle. Thanks so much, man. Great job on the broadcast all season, and we appreciate you doing it. Look forward to next year.
Thanks a lot, Rhett. Have a great night.
Yeah, man.
All right, next on the list, driver of the number 21, Nick Cohan. And Nick, man, we thought this was finally going to be the night for you in that CJAutoPA.com Toyota. And just short, again, another second place finish. Usually I'd be congratulating you for a second, but tonight, that's got to be a disappointment for you in that team.
Yeah, Kyle, we laid it all out there tonight. I can't really be too disappointed because, after the start to the season we had to battle our way just to get into the fuel finals here, I was lucky to make it to the final three, and with all the bad luck I've had, and whether it's bad luck and also me making a lot of mistakes throughout the season, I blew a lot of chances for wins, but I knew I could make it up tonight. So I put in a lot of work this week trying to make sure I was good on the short run, qualifying, long run, and I made sure I would practice pitting. I did everything I possibly could to gain that advantage on Greg, but as it showed, Greg practiced too. I know he wasn't just gonna come in here at 8:30 tonight and race. So first half of the race, the CG Automotive Toyota Camry was fast, and I felt really good going into the second half. But I knew as the sun went down, the track was gonna change, and that's exactly what happened. I felt like I was running the bottom in turn 1 and 2 good, and I was paying off in the long runs, and it paid off in that last run, but Greg just really had changed up his line on 3 and 4 by arcing it in, and I tried mimicking it, and it just wouldn't work for me. I couldn't get off the corner. Every time I tried to do it, I'd lose a tenth to him, so I had to just stick with what I knew was working for me, and just hope that he had worn his stuff out. And he had that one lap fresher tires, so we were slowly catching him, and it wasn't going to be enough, so I had to switch my lines around, and just ran out of time. And even if we would have got to him, it would have been extremely hard to pass him. So really proud of the effort tonight. Did everything, like I said, not disappointing because I gave everything I could. And Greg was obviously dominant all season. So to make him a little nervous and give him a hard run there at the end was was all I could ask for, was have a chance. So I'm proud of everybody here in Disney Motorsports.
All right, Nick, I'm going to ask you one more question. If you could change the results of any race except for this one, which race would you choose?
Whew. That's tough because I had a couple races there where I think I should have won, and either got caught up with cautions, got wrecked, or on my own doing, bad pit stops. So it's hard to say. I know I was pretty quick at Pocono. That's really tough. I can't think of one off the top of my head that sticks out. I was so focused this week on trying to put all those races behind me to try and make up for that tonight. So that's kind of a hard pick, but yeah.
All right, Nick. Well, obviously a great season, P2 in the point standings. So looking forward to season A for 2019. Obviously going in there with a head of steam. Very, very strong performances, Nick. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck next season.
Thanks, Kyle. I just want to give a shout out to Greg for winning the championship. He did phenomenal. It was great to race against Greg and Rhett for the championship. Two ex-teammates of mine, but we're still great friends on and off the track. So I was really happy to be able to race it out with them clean. I think we put on a good show for you. So thanks to all my teammates at Disney Motorsports for helping me out this week. PMS for helping with testing and all season, just working together. So proud of everybody, and thanks to you guys for putting on this awesome broadcast.
Absolutely, Nick. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks.
Last but certainly not least, the driver who won this race and won the championship. Greg, we've been talking to you all season. This is our 9th time talking to you now. And it's been a phenomenal season for you in that number 2 car. Obviously, a 9th win tonight, which puts your winning ratio over 50% on the season. And the best part about that whole thing is that the 9th win was in the last race, which is where it counts the most. And you walk away tonight with a championship trophy. Tell us about your night and the whole season and sum it up for us.
Man, it was just a heck of a season. I would have, gladly traded all those other 8 wins to win tonight, but to cap it off, the championship night, I pretty much knew coming in the race that we had to beat. I knew we had to win the race. So a lot of times during practice, you practice on your qualifying, but pretty much all of practice we ran race runs. To begin the race, I felt like I pushed the car a little too hard, and Nick got by us, and that really taught me a lesson. Watching how he kind of laid back a little bit and saved his tires a little more than I thought we needed to. And then after that, we had a caution, and I got to make some adjustments to how I was going to run my line and how much I needed to save, and it paid off in the end. And me and Nick had a hell of a battle. I knew at the end of the race that he was a little quicker on the bottom. He was running a different line. So I tried to adjust my line a little bit, and I was really afraid I might have pushed it a little too hard, trying to get past Rhett and get a little too far out. But and it was just a perfect night, and couldn't think of a better way to cap it off.
Well, we talk about perfect night, Greg. I mean, this has been, I almost want to say a perfect season. I mean, I was trying to think of a mistake that you had made at all over the entire course of the season, and I couldn't think of one. And the last time I could think of you having a bad night was at Talladega, where obviously you got caught up in a wreck that wasn't your fault. So when you look forward to next season, is there anything, what do you look at to improve? Because winning over half the races and the championship, I mean, that's a pretty tall order to overcome and do anything better than that.
Well, I know next season we're going to be the one everybody's gunning for. I would love to have a season like this again. Is it possible? Yeah, but I know there's some heavy hitters coming in next season, and it's going to be a lot harder. But I think the best thing you can do is just go out there and run your race every race, and just let things fall to me. We might go out there and not win a race next season at all, but this year has been great. I'm already looking forward to next year or next season. Fuel's been a great place to come and race. Will's treated everybody fairly. He's given me black flags at times in the beginning of the season, which I didn't like, but he has kept it, even for everybody throughout the year. And just, going to celebrate tonight and a couple of days from here on, probably this weekend. But after this weekend, we've got to start planning on next year.
All right, Greg. Well, again, huge congratulations from the entire SimTV team, and obviously everyone that we've talked to has congratulated you as well on a phenomenal season and a phenomenal race. A great race as well there with Nick Cohan. So thanks for talking to us, Greg, and we wish you luck next season, and we'll hopefully see you back in the booth back at Daytona.
Thank you, guys. I got to thank you guys for broadcasting most of the races this year. It's made this league a lot more fun having the races broadcast, and you guys do an awesome job. Got to thank Duct Tape, Sure Tape, I Can't Design. All my teammates from Steel Horse Racing, man, they have really stuck by me. I've struggled a couple years before, and really came a long way this year, and they've stuck behind me for a couple years now, and I got to thank all those guys. And even my pastor, he told me I had to mention him tonight. So just thank everybody who's supported me this year. Thank you guys again.
All right, thanks a lot, Greg. Have a great night and enjoy the off-season.
Thank you guys, y'all too.
All right, Finney, that wraps it up here. I mean, that was one of the greatest races I think we've ever watched from start to finish. There was a little bit of everything. There was long green flag runs. There was some controversy. There was some carnage. There was some payback. But at the end of the day, the result was the same. Greg Evans walks away as not only your winner, but a champion.
Yeah, and the champion for the inaugural Rigshare Cup Series. And I definitely think he's going to enjoy carrying that title, and definitely earned it again. 9 wins in 17 races. That's an absolute dominant feat that I think the drivers for the rest of the continuation of this Cup Series for however many seasons pass are going to find hard to beat.
All right, with that, we conclude our coverage for the 2018 Rigshare Fuel Cup Series. Next season, we'll be back starting at Daytona. You can find all the information about that on the Fuel Racing League website. at fuelrl.com. So go ahead and check that out. Signups are posted there as well for not only the Cup Series League, but also the Indy League that runs on Thursday nights. And speaking of the Indy League, they conclude their season Thursday, and that'll be streamed live on SimTV at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Tomorrow, Virtual Mars concludes their season as well with a 30-minute race at Summit Point with the Mustangs and MX-5s. And then we're off for a couple days to enjoy the Christmas holiday. So we want to wish everyone a happy holiday. If you don't, come back tomorrow and Thursday to watch. But we'll see everyone around. And that was a phenomenal season, Finian. But with our closing remarks here, again, just an all-around great season with these guys. And it's been fun watching everyone this season improve as drivers and see all this on-track action. It was phenomenal the whole season, and I expect great things in the future and beyond. So we want to thank Will Roberts from the Fuel Racing League, as well as Calvin Filarski and Nick Cohan for putting all this on each and every week. It's phenomenal. Anybody else? I forgot Zach Buchanan as well run the league. So a great season. We'll be back with you in a couple months. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.